How are you? Welcome to Comic Con, and today we'll be looking at Deadpool. Deadpool was about to kill the Punisher, but stopped when he learned that his mother was called Martha. Since Deadpool's mother is also called Martha, he felt a connection with the Punisher and so couldn't kill him. The Punisher kept telling Deadpool that his mother is not called Martha, and he has no idea where he got that idea from. And that is the first of 100 facts about Deadpool. Let's dive in. Wade Winston Wilson debuted as Deadpool in New Mutants number 98 in 1991. The story was called The Beginning of the End. It's also worth mentioning that he was only supposed to appear in one issue. The character was created by Fabian Nicieza and Rob Liefeld. Although Liefeld usually gets all the credit, he was the artist for Deadpool. It was Nicieza who wrote all of Deadpool's dialogue. Wade was dying of cancer, so he volunteered for the Weapon X program so they could cure him. Many of the facility's victims were forced into agonizing experiments to give them powers, many of which died. The other prisoners bet on which inmate would die next. This was known as the Deadpool. Since Wade Wilson was the most likely person not to survive his procedure, he took on the name Deadpool. Using Wolverine's blood, the procedure gave him a healing factor twice as efficient as Wolverine. Wade assumed this would cure him of his cancer. However, Wade didn't realize that cancer is not a disease, but an abnormal growth of cells. So although the cancer couldn't kill him, the procedure accelerated its rate, which covered his body with countless tumors. This has led Deadpool horrifically deformed. The procedure formed many tumors in his brain, which left Deadpool completely insane. Deadpool is known as the Merc with a Mouth because he never shuts up. He is also known as the Regenerating Degenerate. Deadpool is aware that he's in a comic book and points this out all the time. When he does this, it is known as breaking the fourth wall. If you chopped off Deadpool's head, he would still survive. Now, this might sound a bit stupid, even for a comic, but there are animals that can actually do this. Most people know that animals like starfish and lizards can regenerate a lost leg, but the axolotl can regenerate a lost brain. If you scoop a chunk of its brain out of its skull, no biggie, just grow a new one. It can regenerate a new spine if its old one gets damaged. And you might think to yourself, how come humans don't have genes like this? We do, but they only exist in one form: cancer. Get rid of cancer? Don't worry, it'll just come back. Evolution really screwed us over on that one. This actually makes sense for Deadpool since his entire body is riddled with cancer. Most of the experiments in this facility ended in failure, so the majority of test subjects were left deformed or in agony. But one person emerged a complete success: Ajax, who was left with super strength, agility, and an inability to feel pain. Because Ajax was a complete success, he believes he was better than everyone else at the facility. Wade Wilson hated how Ajax humiliated the inmates. Wade was the only person who stood up to him, which created an intense hatred between the two. Now, if you see the movie, you know Deadpool makes fun of Ajax by saying his real name, Francis. But his name is actually worse in the comic. His full name is actually Francis Fanny. Deadpool reminded him of this every chance he could, which infuriated Ajax. He also used to tape signs to Ajax's back that read, "My mommy made me this costume. She loves me." When Wade became Deadpool, he hunted Ajax down and broke his neck, killing him. He pulled out his grandmother's gold teeth so he could buy his first gun. His defense was, she was already dead. He once battled a gladiator, centaur, symbiote, cyborg, werewolf. He probably has the least supervillainy name ever: Marcus. Deadpool's stories are always very inconsistent and don't really make any sense. When Spider-Man pointed out that Deadpool's stories have too many plot holes, Deadpool said, "Wouldn't a radioactive spider just die?" It's a good point. He is Canadian. He sees himself as Canada's James Bond. Deadpool has survived pretty much anything you could think of. The Hulk once punched him so hard, Deadpool exploded into 1,000 pieces. Because of his healing factor, Deadpool reformed until he was back to normal. Well, normal for him. Once he was incinerated to ash, and he still came back to life. He desperately wants to fight Captain America to increase the sales of his comic. He briefly became a ninja called Dead Fist. As Dead Fist, he tried to talk in haikus to seem more mystical. He gave up because he found it too hard. He tried to make a children's cartoon about his adventures. At the end of the first episode, he said, "I hope you kids with televisions have as much fun watching my cartoon as much as the Asian kids that had to draw me did." Since he's a mercenary, he claims he will do anything if the price is right. He said, "You pay me enough, and I'll shoot babies. I mean, I won't like it, but I'll do it." Deadpool's spirit animal is Wolverine. And I don't mean the Canadian weasel. I mean his spirit animal is literally the superhero Wolverine. When Deadpool annoys Cable, Cable uses his psychic powers to implode Deadpool's brain. Deadpool does not like when Cable does this. After many years, Deadpool finally became an Avenger. His position on the team was sanctioned by Captain America and Barack Obama. Deadpool had a relationship with the Grim Reaper. I don't mean a supervillain called the Grim Reaper, even though there is a supervillain with that name. I mean Deadpool made out with the personification of death. I don't know why. Like Deadpool, Thanos is in love with death. Thanos wanted to kill Deadpool, but realized this would make it even easier for Deadpool to win death over. To avoid this, Thanos made Deadpool immortal. He is an orphan. His mother died of cancer and his father died in a drinking session accident. However, in another issue, he said that he killed his parents. This was contradicted in another issue when he was certain that Sabretooth killed Deadpool's father. He's a fan of the show Scrubs. He hates the show Friends, but loves the theme song. Due to his horrid appearance, he wears a realistic mask when he pretends to be a civilian. He has a crush on many people. He has a man crush for Rob Lowe. He has a thing for Evangeline Lilly. He told Thor that he finds him very attractive. He has a crush on Domino and Black Widow, and he is so obsessed with the Olsen twins, he has a 14-state restraining order against them. He led a group of Deadpools from alternate dimensions. The team is composed of Deadpool, Lady Deadpool, Kid Deadpool, Dogpool, and a zombie head called Headpool. They were known as the Deadpool Corps. He's a big fan of colonoscopies. While looking for work, he saw an advertisement that said Herald Wanted. To apply, simply say Herald aloud and you'll be contacted for an interview. Deadpool then said, I wonder what a herald is. Since he said herald, he was immediately sucked into the sky and met the potential employee, Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds. Galactus imbued Deadpool with cosmic energy and asked him to find worlds for Galactus to consume. Although Galactus thought Deadpool was an efficient herald, he couldn't stand him since he wouldn't shut up. As a result, Deadpool was fired. Deadpool is a huge fan of Harry Potter and queued for ages to buy Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Although he did everything in his power to avoid spoilers, some jerk spoiled the ending for him. Deadpool tracked him down and broke his nose. Deadpool then shot him dead because he was convinced he framed Stephen Avery, the murder suspect from the documentary Making a Murderer. I don't know how Deadpool associates that with Harry Potter. He once wore Iron Man's armor. And what did he do with his advanced technology at his fingertips? He got drunk. He laughs as somebody says booby traps because he finds the word traps funny. He said that Peter Parker's Aunt May is not even Marissa Tomei hot. Marissa Tomei plays Aunt May in Spider-Man Homecoming. Fans complained about her casting because she was too hot. Deadpool claims to have a chainsaw sense that warns him when he's been stabbed with a chainsaw. Nobody knows how it works. He shot a scientist dead because he thought the Star Wars prequels were better than the original films. He has multiple personalities and often argues with his own thought boxes in the comics. Each thought box has a different color to represent a different part of his psyche. Although it sounds horrible that Deadpool is laced in tumors, it does have his advantages. He has so many tumors in his brain, it's impossible for psychics to read his mind. Also, the alien race, the Skrulls, cloned Deadpool, hoping to create soldiers that could recover from any injury. It backfired when every clone retained Deadpool's tumors, and they all died. Deadpool made a World of Warcraft reference when he launched himself at the Great Lake Avengers while crying out, He lives with a woman called Blind Al. The writers originally wanted Blind Al to be the person who caused Deadpool to develop cancer. Another idea was that Blind Al would be revealed to be the first Black Widow. His daughter, Eleanor, is under the protection of S.H.I.E.L.D. Deadpool doesn't associate with her much, worried that she would become a target for supervillains. Deadpool doesn't like being described as being disfigured. He describes himself as dermatologically challenged. His weapon of choice are twin katanas. Deadpool used to be an altar boy. When he was asked how that worked out for him, he said, let's just say, Father Finnegan can't pee standing up no more. He is pansexual. He has crossed paths with Ebenezer Scrooge, Sherlock Holmes, Don Quixote, Mowgli, Tom Sawyer, and Moby Dick. His physical appearance briefly reverted to normal. Deadpool tried to calm down the Hulk with a basket of puppies. It didn't work. Another time, he tried to calm down the Hulk by playing Enya music on the piano. He doesn't like being called Mr. Wilson because it makes him feel like I should be smacking Dennis around or something. He wears Deadpool-themed underpants. Sometimes he wears a leopard skin thong. Mental image. He can speak German, Spanish, and Japanese, and he also knows sign language. Gambit gave Deadpool a Ryan Reynolds coloring book as a present. Oh, that's nice. When the Hulk had a mohawk, Deadpool called him Mohulk. There's a fan-made short film of Deadpool that parodies the Gaston song from Beauty and the Beast. The short only took 2 days to shoot. When he joined the X-Men, he demanded to wear a costume. For some reason, he would only wear Jean Grey's uniform. He can punch people with his thought bubbles. He calls his move just smacking a guy with a thing. He drives the Dead Buggy. He has an assistant called Jack Hammer, who usually goes by the name Weasel. He's been married 9 times. His most recent wife, Shikla the Undead, is a succubus who can shapeshift, control minds, and project fire. When he first met his wife, Deadpool told her that he was the ruler of Earth. When she learned that he wasn't, He pointed out that he meant culturally. When Deadpool got married, Shikla said, "If we were following my customs, we would be sacrificing a virgin right now." Deadpool replied with, "Yeah, well, Spider-Man's not here." He once fought zombie versions of the American presidents. He created his own mercenary squad. Deadpool picks on Hawkeye by calling him Legolas, Hunger Games, and the girl from Brave. If Deadpool loses a limb, he will grow a new one within a few hours. But what happened to the dismembered limb? Well, normally it just withers away, but one time, a doctor placed several dismembered Deadpool parts together to form a new Deadpool. This Deadpool is a lunatic. I mean, more so. And completely malevolent. He is called Evil Deadpool. He's been attacked by an army of bunnies on 2 separate occasions. Deadpool is the most agile person in the world. He is more agile than Spider-Man or Nightcrawler. The Avengers considered hiring Deadpool as their babysitter. He declined. He thinks people like Spider-Man because of his Tobey Maguire's teary doe eyes. There's an alternative universe where Deadpool killed all the Marvel characters. This version is called Dreadpool. He has seen every episode of the original Star Trek. Although he hasn't seen Star Trek The Next Generation, he believes that Captain Picard looks like Professor X. He once got trapped in a fridge for 8 centuries. He was very bored. Deadpool is a ripoff of DC supervillain Deathstroke. Not only do they look very similar, but they even have similar names. Deathstroke's called Slade Wilson, Deadpool's called Wade Wilson. It's also worth mentioning, Deadpool has a grudge book which details all the people he vows vengeance against. Deadpool had a grudge against Sabretooth because he called Deadpool Slade ripoff. This is the greatest insult to Deadpool, and he vowed Sabretooth must die. Deadpool was originally described by the creators as Spider-Man with guns. The video game Deadpool was released on the PS3 and the Xbox 360 in 2013. There is one part in the game where Deadpool calls the voice actor Nolan North. North voices Deadpool and is often considered to be the greatest voiceover actor in video games. Captain America is one of the only superheroes that Deadpool respects. His answer machine says, "You've reached the private chat line of Sexy Wade Wilson. I'm not available to whisper naughty whatnots to you right now, but feel free to breathe heavily after the beep." When he visited Greece, he found it deader than Gwen Stacy. In one issue, Deadpool leaves the comic and kills the Marvel artist. Deadpool briefly served as a new Wolverine. In one of his first fights, he fell and stabbed himself in the head with one of his claws. It was a pretty bad debut. He suffers from calorophobia, which is a fear of clowns. He considers them to be the worst threat to mankind apart from Galactus. He hates how they bring joy and laughter to the smiling faces of children everywhere, and hates how they are purveyors of hope and all that is pure in the world. He suffers from bovinophobia, which is a fear of cows. He finds their stare to be chilling, as if they are waiting. But Deadpool says his one true weakness is kittens. He is addicted to chimichangas. There's many different versions of Deadpool in different universes. There's a Galactus Deadpool, there's a T-Rex Deadpool called Deadpool Dinosaur, there's a Panda Pool, there's a Squirrel Pool, there's a mime version after a mind-controlling beret landed on his head called Mime Pool, there's a Doctor Doom version called Death Mask, there's a Wolverine Pool, there's one where Deadpool's a duck, and there's a version where Deadpool is completely covered in mouths, who's called Cesspool. In one comic, Deadpool seemed to die. He even had a funeral and everything. In 2002, a new superhero debuted called Agent X. Since he debuted shortly after Deadpool apparently died, it was theorized by fans that Agent X was an amnesiac Deadpool. It turns out that Agent X was a man called Nijo who died but was resurrected when a piece of Deadpool's brain was inserted into his head. Because of this, Agent X has the same memories and powers as Deadpool. The only reason Agent X was created was because Deadpool comics were not selling, so Marvel decided to cancel it and reboot it with a title with the letter X in it, so readers would assume it was connected to X-Men, which it wasn't, which was selling at the time. Once Deadpool came back, they had to get rid of Agent X, so Hydra defeated Agent X by giving him morbid obesity. Why did they do this? So he wouldn't notice. They also gave him arthritis. A supervillain once removed all of Deadpool's bones. Because of his healing factor, he survived. His healing factor is so powerful, he once had his heart ripped out, and it barely affected him. He could still fight without one. He wanted a crossover with the entire cast of Little Women, which was surprisingly good. In one story, Deadpool forced pygmy goats to stampede through an orphanage. He bought an Avengers Quinjet off Craigslist. He doesn't like the word kill. He prefers to say unalive. He's a sidekick called Massacre. He's exactly the same as Deadpool, except he speaks in Spanish. He had his own comic where all the dialogue was written in broken English. Deadpool can lift 2 tons. That's the weight of an American passenger car. According to Black Panther's supercomputer, Deadpool has so many cancer cells, he can be classified as one big tumor. Any person of any language can understand Deadpool because he is fluent in translated word balloon. When he prepares for a big fight, Deadpool wishes there was dramatic music in the background. Sometimes he just sings dramatic music before a battle. Spider-Man and Deadpool have teamed up with the magicians Penn and Teller. This issue was written by the magician Penn Jillette. Deadpool once killed Spider-Man. Oh no! Don't worry, he unkilled him by dragging Spider-Man back from purgatory. He has a gun made of solid gold that shoots diamonds. It is called the Compensator. He once said, "You know what they say about people who assume things? I stabbed them." He believes his philosophy is a Canadian thing. When he speaks, his speech bubbles are in yellow boxes. He points this out all the time. Once he swallowed a grenade and it detonated in his stomach. Unsurprisingly, it was tremendously painful. When Deadpool learned that there was a cult that wanted to change human beings so they had the same skin color to eradicate racism, Deadpool tried to help them so he could get rid of his grotesque physical appearance. When Cable tried to talk Deadpool out of it, he said, "Hey, if you look like Ryan Reynolds crossed with a Sharpie, you'd understand." The first thing you're going to think of, oh, obviously this is a reference to Ryan Reynolds being cast. But it isn't. This was 4 years before Reynolds played the character in X-Men Origins Wolverine. By a complete coincidence, this was the first Deadpool comic that Ryan Reynolds ever read. And for the 100 fact, since the release of the movie Deadpool, the comics regularly reference Ryan Reynolds. Deadpool admits that he's obsessed with kidnapping Ryan Reynolds. When Ryan Reynolds was cast as Deadpool, he set up a Twitter account as a superhero. He only followed one person, Hello Kitty, which in the comic, Deadpool is obsessed with Hello Kitty. And he regularly makes fun of the actress Blake Lively. Lively is the wife of Ryan Reynolds. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe. Please let me know if there's any other superheroes you want me to do a video about, and I'll upload it as soon as possible.